Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be talking about a prophet like Moses. Muslims love to claim that Muhammad was prophesied in Bible, especially in the Old Testament, because they wanted Muhammad like Jesus, prophesied. And this is came from their favorite is Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 17 to 19. Let us read. The Lord said to me, what they say is good. I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among their fellow Israelites, and I will put my words in his mouth. He will tell them everything I command him. I myself will call to account anyone who does not listen to my words that the prophet speaks in my name. According to Muslims, this is talking about Muhammad. Has to be Muhammad. Because who else? Right? Muhammad is half Israeli, so this has to be Muhammad. Now let us investigate. But first, we will start the reading from Surah Al Isra, verse 90 to 93. I want us to read a passage from that surah. Let us start from verse 90. And they say, we will not believe you until you break open for us from the ground a spring, or until you have a garden of palm trees and grapes and make rivers gush forth within them in force. Or you make the heaven fall upon us in fragments as you have claimed, or you bring Allah and the angels before us. Or you have a house of ornament, i.e., gold, or you ascend into the sky, and we will not believe in your ascension until you bring down to us a book we may read. Say, exalted is my Lord, was I ever but a human messenger? So this is the non-Muslims challenging Muhammad to bring the heaven or the sky fall upon them in fragments as he had claimed, or bring Allah and the angels before them, or make water comes out from the ground, make them a garden full of palm trees, or to show them his house made of gold, and to show them that he can fly. And moreover, they also asked him to bring down a book. And see what Allah told him to say. Exalted is my Lord, was I ever but a human messenger. In other words, he cannot do it. He cannot do any of those. So many requests, none of them he can perform. Now, let's continue. I want to show you passages from Old Testament and then compare to New Testament and then compare to Quran so we can all understand. First, we will start from Exodus chapter 14 verse 21. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and all that night the Lord drove the sea back with a strong east wind and turned it into dry land. The waters were divided. So this when Moses led the Israelis out of Egypt. let us compare it to the New Testament. Jesus in the book of John, chapter 6, verse 16 to 21. When evening came, his disciples went down to the lake, where they got into a boat and set off across the lake for Capernaum. By now it was dark, and Jesus had not yet joined them. A strong wind was blowing, and the waters grew rough. When they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus approaching the boat, walking on the water. And they were frightened, but he said to them, "It is I, don't be afraid." Then they were willing to take him into the boat, and immediately the boat reached the shore where they were heading. Now, Jesus did not split the sea like Moses. Jesus just simply walked on water. And you have to remember, actually, there's another story about this, where Jesus walked on water and he asked Peter to get off from the boat in the middle of the sea with the same situation. The wind was violent, the water was rough. I just did not put it here, that story. But I just want to show you how Jesus is greater than even Moses. There's pretty much nothing can stop him from walking everywhere. Now, I will show you 2 verses from Quran. Surah Hud, verse 12. Then would you possibly leave some of what is revealed to you? Or is your breast constrained by it? Because they say, why has there not been sent down to him a treasure, or come with him an angel? But you are only a warner, and Allah is disposer of all things. The disbelievers again asking Muhammad for a sign, for a miracle. Allah told Muhammad to tell them, he is only a warner, not a prophet, a warner. Now, next verse. This is chapter 15, Al-Hijr, verse 6. And they say, O you upon whom the message has been sent down, indeed you are mad. Okay, they say. The people who did not believe in Muhammad say, okay, you got the message, sure. You are a madman. You're crazy, that's it. The next one, I would like us to go back to the Old Testament. This is the book of Numbers, chapter 20, verse 11. Then Moses raised his arm and struck the rock twice with his staff. Water gushed out, and the community and their livestock drank. Remember earlier, they asked for water to come out from the ground, and Muhammad could not do it. Yeah, Moses did it. All he need to do is he strike the ground twice with his staff. That's all, and water come up. Now, let's go to John chapter 2. Verse 1 to 11. I will not read the whole thing, but you can see This is about Jesus changes water into wine. I will skip and to chapter verse 7. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." So they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet." They did so, and the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. So now Jesus turned the water into wine. He did not even say the mantra. He only asked them to fill it up with water and draw out some, and now bring out the jar out. That's all. No mantra there. Nothing. All of a sudden, the water became wine. So, in other words, Jesus is greater than Moses again. Now, another two verses from the Quran. Let us read. Chapter 29, this is Surah Ankabut, verse 50. But they say, "Why are not signs sent down to him from his Lord?" Say, "The signs are only with Allah, and I am only a clear warner." Again, they ask for the sign. People asking Muhammad for signs. And he did not deliver any sign. He just said, "The signs are with Allah." The signs are with Allah. And I'm only a clear warner. Next verse. This is Quran chapter 37, verse 36, Surah As-Safat. Let us read. And we're saying, "Are we to leave our gods for a mad poet?" So, they asked for signs. He did not deliver the sign. And again, they call him crazy, mad. Now, the last comparison, the book of Exodus. Exodus chapter 16. I will not read the whole thing. This is manna and quail. Well, this is where God sending down manna and quail for the Israelites to eat. I will just read verse 4. Then the Lord said to Moses, "I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions." God provides manna and quails from heaven, so they have something to eat every day. Now let's go to Matthew, the book of Matthew, chapter 14, verse 13 to 21. Jesus feeds the 5,000. I don't read the whole thing. Jesus fed 5,000 people out of 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. This is in verse 17. 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Nothing more. And this is 5,000 men. As you can see here, when you go to verse 21, the number of those who ate was about 5,000 men, besides women and children. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Maybe it's 10,000. Maybe 4,000 women there and 1,000 children. Who knows? Maybe there were 5,000 women and 3,000 children. Who knows? Right? Now the next one also from the book of Matthew, chapter 15, verse 29 to 39. This is Jesus feeds the 4,000. Again, in verse 34, Jesus asked, "How many loaves do you have?" 7, they replied, and a few small fish. Then when you go back to the end, take a look. Verse 38, the number of those who ate was 4,000 men, besides women and children. So, this again, Jesus, all Jesus did to multiply those the bread and fish was giving thanks. No magic mantra. No magic mantra. So thousands of people saw this, how Jesus performed miracle. Next, another two verses from Quran. Surah Ar-Ra'd, verse 7. And those who disbelieved say, why has a sign not been sent down to him from his Lord? You are only a warner, and for every people is a guide. Again, Allah told him to say that he is only a warner, not a prophet, just a warner. And one more verse from the Quran. This is chapter 44, Surah Ad-Dukhan, verse 14. Then, yet they turn away from him and say, tutored, man possessed. What it means is tutored by someone. He is tutored by someone. And he's crazy. Again, no miracle. And now people call him crazy again. We have learned from 3 examples here, actually. When Jesus walks on water, right? Moses split the sea, Jesus walks on water. The manna and quails came down from heaven, from the sky. And Jesus fed 5,000 people and 4,000 people. And when Moses struck his staff and then water gushed out from the ground, right? We learn all these examples. And every time Quran says, Allah told Muhammad to say he's only a warner. Miracles are only with Allah. And each and every time, people who did not believe in Muhammad, the non-Muslims, saying he is a madman. Allah told him to tell them that he's only a warner. And the pagans, the Jews, call him madman. Non-Muslims call him madman, not even a warner, because there's no sign. Now, after all this, does any of you still think Muhammad is the prophet like Moses? If you are a Muslim listening to this, think again. And that's all from me for today. Thank you for listening and watching. Whether you believe in Muhammad or Jesus or Moses, God bless you all. Have a nice life.